Okay, everybody. Okay, thank you. First, I would like to welcome everybody. I'm sort of overwhelmed by the number of people who are here. Just thrilled.
We just want to read it, please. I'm not sure that's working.
Is this better?
Yes.
I said first, I want to welcome everybody and thank you all for being here. My name is Jane Smith, resident of the town, and together with a group of people, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, we came together in the hopes of getting this forum, make it happen, and to have the League of Women Voters president, Dare Thompson, moderating for us. And so I want to give a special thank you to the candidates, Betsy Moss, Steve Frazier for being here, and of course Dare for all your wisdom in putting this together. And thank all of you for taking the time to learn and listen. And I hope that you all listen with an open mind and learn something about the candidates that you might not have known before you walked in here to help you decide who you want to vote for, who you think is best for the town. I think we're all looking for the same answer. And I'm going to ask, just please turn off cell phones and hand it over to you. You hear? Yeah, you can't hear that, right? Okay, it doesn't sound very loud here, so it's there, and I think you have to keep it close, right? If you can hear it at any point, you need to hear, mostly they need to hear the questions, but don't hesitate to wave your hand or something and let me know you're not hearing, and I'll try to be quiet.
That's not on.
It's not on. Sometimes just this way. That's good. Here, this is all right, I'm speeding right along here. I want to introduce the timekeeper, who's the person they will have the most interest in. They will forget all about me because I'll be watching the signs. Doug's been doing this with me. We've been in the league for 50 years. Well, he will next year. Manafort admitted 50 years ago next year, and that's when he joined. And we've been doing a lot of these over the years, and I found that they're way more interested in him than me. They're watching it. They have 2 minutes for the first opening statement, 2 minutes at the closing. They've chosen 1 and 2 slips of paper to settle who starts. They have 90 seconds for all the questions after that, and you're going to see something weird, and I've asked a number of people that watch this with me so they don't get off this rhythm because it's kind of awkward. Betsy will start with the opening, and Steve, and part of your first names, but it's just friendly. Steve will be the second person to do the opening remark, and then he will start the first question, the answer to the first question. Then Betsy will give the second answer, and then she'll start the first answer to the next question. So it's kind of a double thing all the time, and it's easy to get confused. It's easy for them, me, and you. So let's all keep them on track. Just, it's Betsy's turn, it's Steve's turn. And I think with that, is there anything else? Oh, and yes, and we had to give up the presidential debates back many, many years ago. I know we had Carter before, and then pretty much after that we didn't, because the candidates and the parties and the media wanted to have a show, and we don't want a show. We want everybody to hear the answers. We want civility. We just want to learn about the candidates. So that's the spirit in which we'll do it. And I'll stop any clapping or any kind of noise. I was a teacher, first day of class, those kids get rambunctious, you can't get them back. So if I seem a little mean about that, let's keep it that way, all nice and quiet. So with that, we'll start with Betsy and opening statements.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Betsy Moss, and as many of you know, I am in my third term as your town supervisor. First, I'd like to say I have the general management, budgeting, and executive skills to fulfill the role of town supervisor as it is outlined in New York town law. And I believe I've proven that in the last 5.5 years. When I first arrived, I reviewed the town's financial performance for the preceding 8 years, with many departments overspending by exceedingly high amounts. We lost large sums of money several years in a row. This was not that long ago. Since I've been your town supervisor, we have made money every year, which is why our fund balance and capital account has been able to grow during my administration. We stopped huge losses in recreation, and now our department contributes positively to our bottom line, as does the recycling center and the equestrian center. The highway department losses and overtime have stopped, so the entire financial picture is like a well-run small business. As a result, we have been under the tax cap and kept your taxes low or flat every year. We scrutinize expenses daily because we do not want the taxpayers overpaying. This is how we enable our departments to perform well, always give our employees raises, and always save money at the end of the year. We also seek out new sources of revenue that contribute to our good performance. Examples of that are the festivals that rent out our park and the solar development that pays us to lease our land. Small businesses do not manage themselves, and neither does our town. Our strong results and strong employee performance could not be accomplished if the leader were not there during the business day. Given the time and energy I have invested to make our teams happy and to keep our taxes down while devoting time to conservation, infrastructure investments, and grant writing, I can guarantee you that without that same focus, we will absolutely go backwards. You hired me to move us forward, and that is exactly what we have done. Hire me again to enable us to keep Unionville fiscally sound so we can afford pursuing the creative ideas of our wonderful residents that they keep coming up with. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I appreciate you all coming out here tonight. My name is Steve Frazier. I'm also running for town supervisor. I know some of you have received publications that were very critical of me. Says that I have no leadership experience. Well, that is not quite true. My leadership role started back when I was in my early 20s. I had joined the volunteer fire service at age 17. By the time I was 20, I was approached to become second lieutenant of the fire company, then moved up to first lieutenant, captain, and then president of the fire company. The president of the fire company conducts the business meetings of the fire department, very much like the town board meetings here. It was a 25-member department. I was elected annually consecutively for over 20 years, re-elected annually. Secondly, I was involved in the Trinity Methodist Church in LaGrangeville, and I was approached to be on leadership committees there several times, fulfilled those duties as well. I ran my own business that some of you may remember was Pelican Home Services. It was a landscape business. I had a crew of 7, managed a small business for 15 years until the economy turned in 2009. From that point on, I went to the town of Wappinger, where I am supervisor of buildings and grounds, a town of 30,000. I worked side by side with the town supervisor there, providing him information to help him make the decisions that he needs to make for the town. I also was councilman here for 10 years, took advantage of annual training with the Association of Towns to become a better board member. And with all this experience, I am very versed in municipal law and can fill this position quite adequately. Thank you.
All right, I love this question. I've never seen one like it. I'm interested, this person says, I'm interested in moving to Dutchess County. Why should I consider living in Unionville? LaGrange and Beacon seem nice.
Well, I'm a lifelong resident of this area, and I've had that whole opportunity to leave, and it's just no place else on earth that I'd rather live. We have the geography here is unmatched, in my opinion, anywhere else on earth, and you know, it's just the beauty that we have and the rural characteristic and the friendly neighborhoods that we have here. And you know, we have the biggest and most beautiful park here, town park in the state. And you know, those are plenty of reasons to come to Unionville. Our taxes are moderate, and it just is a very, very nice place to live. We have good school districts as well.
Okay. I would say that you live in Unionville and you shop and go to dinner in Beacon and LaGrange. Unionville is beautiful. I think the main thing that everybody loves that I speak with in Unionville is that everybody has a lot of room. They can spread out, their families grow, they have lots of room for the dogs. It makes for a very happy family life. It is, and I agree with Steve completely, we have the most beautiful park in the state of New York that's town owned, and it is a beautiful place to be. And there's nothing that we could find wrong with Unionville, since everything in Beacon and LaGrange are close when it comes to shopping and eating. So we agree on something that is wonderful.
To what extent do you balance believe contact with residents is important? How do you typically handle this responsibility? How will you build relationships with the community? How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in our town? That's interesting.
Okay. I think contact with the residents is one of the best parts of this job, because most of the people, and I'd say the people that I know and the people that I have contact with are lovely. They're great to talk to, and everybody has a lot of good ideas. It seems to me that most people have my cell phone, because I get calls at home at night and on the weekends, and I take them if I hear them, I take them, if I hear the phone ring. And so I think a lot of people enjoy one-on-one contact, as well as the ability to come into town hall, and as well as to come and talk to email. I get a lot of emails. I get hundreds and hundreds of emails. So I think while those are the hardest thing to keep up with, the visits in town hall, town board meetings, and telephone calls work really well. And I enjoy every minute of that, because that is the main reason I would be in this job, is the contact with the residents. Can you hear me?
Yes, was there a problem?
Just getting texts from people who are listening to the live stream and having a little bit of hard time
Hearing the question. Okay. Would those
Just
people,
maybe a little slower.
and would those people check in again if that doesn't get better?
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I also believe that one-on-one contact is the best method of communication. Last election cycle and this one as well, I've been out speaking with the residents face to face. And it's a very heartwarming experience. The same thing, I would make myself available all hours of the day going forward if I were to be elected as supervisor. And I would invite the residents to come to our meetings and make those meetings available, in social media or the electronic media form, and open meetings, and always be available and accountable to the residents for what goes on within the town.
All right, what are 3 or more goals or accomplishments you want to achieve during your term as supervisor in Unionville? And Steve, you start this one.
I would like to make Time Park more active than it is, now. We do have some programs going on, but I think it could be utilized much more with, and bring more of the residents in and have more of a community spirit than we do currently. I've got some ideas toward that effect that I'd like to speak with the staff going forward if I am. Number 2, I'd like to take care of some of our infrastructure issues here that have been on the map here for quite some time. We have a problem with the bridge here going to the back part of the property. The dam needs to be repaired, and we need to do some updating at our buildings. And I would like to take care of that. My forte is building and property maintenance. Number 3, again, I would like to make things more open for the residents and inviting for the residents. Keep us transparency, improve that with more communication with the meetings being broadcast, and also start to include the planning board and zoning board meetings as part of our broadcast.
Well, as far as my goals, I would say we have 2 very important things on deck, and then we have things that we've discussed before. One is to fully fund the renovation of the library and get the library up and running, which is really important. And in addition, the dam project is something that we've been working on for some time, and we'll continue to work on until we get that resolved. We're waiting for the heavy water table, the high water table this year to recede so we can do some more testing there. We also have some zoning things that we want to take care of. We have some very large parcels of land, and some of the owners of those parcels of land are not really sure what to do for the next generation and how to preserve it and keep it green. And one of our big goals is to work a little more closely with the Duchess Land Conservancy, and certainly with the owners themselves, so we can help them so that, when he dies and his wife gets the land, she doesn't call Toll Brothers in about 30 seconds, which is what one owner said to me was going to happen if we didn't help him out. So we do have goals with regard to keeping Unionville green and rural. We want to complete that library so we can offer all those extra services to our residents. The zoning is part of the green and rural, and I think the dam project is critical, and will be even more so going forward. Right, as far as residents, and we are always open to the residents. I've heard we're one of the most transparent towns anywhere, given the amount of time we spend with sharing budget and that sort of thing, and all of our numbers. So that I think we do pretty well, but would always do more.
I hope you can see the signs go up, and I just tell the candidates that you judge that. I'm not going to grab him with a hook, but he holds the sign up clearly so you all know. And most of the candidates don't do much, but we recognize your senses, and we do that. All right, so we need a new question. Other than your sparkling personalities, what skills do you bring to the table to meet the needs of the people of Unionville? Just 90 seconds to give your skills. Yes, you're first.
I think if you look at, and I think this is where it gets confusing for some people, the job of the town supervisor is maybe 4 or 5 things. You run the town board meetings, you do the budgeting, you represent the town at county meetings, you are preside over the board meetings. What else? I think that's most of them. But the most important part of the job is the fiscal work. And if you look up the job descriptions for any elected job, what you'll see for the town supervisor is about 2.5 pages just on numbers, accounting, fiscal accountability, how we report. One of the jobs of the town supervisor is to prosecute to get funds or property returned to the town that rightfully belong to them. So there's a lot of, while it's the pit bull of the town, it seems to be the town supervisor when it comes to keeping your taxes down, taking care of the taxpayers, pursuing things if the town has been unjustly stolen from. People steal money sometimes, and you have to prosecute them and retrieve it. So we really do try to go after the taxpayers. My background is in budgeting, accounting, asset management. I went to Cornell University for a degree in all of that, and also labor relations and collective bargaining, which doesn't come into play here. So I was in asset management with Citibank and Citigroup for many years. So I have to stop now. Thank you.
I have a pretty broad background. I've been involved in construction, both highway and building construction. I'm very well versed in building maintenance, property maintenance. As I mentioned, I have the skills to run the town board meeting at my job. Currently, I also manage and prepare and manage a near $1 million budget of my own. Very similar to the town budget here. And I've returned that budget in the black every single year that I've been there for 15 years. Budgeting is not rocket science. Basic math skills, you can do that, do some projections. It is not as difficult as it's made out to be. And as I mentioned, I do have experience in that part of the field. I also have broad skills with handling personnel and dealing with personnel issues on a fair basis, and I have a very good reputation in that respect.
I know the library has come up a lot, and let's tackle that here in the middle. There are going to be some budget questions too, so we might focus on other things. But so I'm going to read some of them. What are your thoughts on the town library? Convince us pro or con on a public library here in Time Moore. Why would the town of Unionville establish a municipal public library rather than an association public library? And what will you and how will you support this is more money, I think, the ongoing effort to establish a library in Unionville? So some of the overarching issues, and we'll get into budget too.
The library has come up as a most important topic among just about everyone I visited, both this campaign period and the last that I was out speaking with. And almost all of our residents wish to continue to use the Beekman and Millbrook Library, as well as Dover and LaGrange, as they have been in the past. In my opinion, it just doesn't make financial sense to build a new library when we have those services available to us at a much lower cost. I do firmly believe that our residents deserve library services, and I would be willing to fund the subscription rate to the Mid-Hudson Library System. I also would like to work with them and try to get some representation from Unionville and what those costs may be. And, again, this is the popular opinion that I've encountered out there speaking with our residents.
So first of all, I think that topic's going to take a little more than 90 seconds, but I'm going to start with going back to the budget question. Now, I know that Steve Frazier works for a department in the town of Los Angeles, and I have spoken to those board members on a regular basis because they have been in touch with me. His department is given a budget, just like every department in the town of Unionville, and he spends it down, just like every other department. He does not create a budget. Now, I don't want to minimize the importance of a budget, and I want him to answer why in 3 of the years that he was a town board member, they lost $438,000, $323,000, and $118,000. That's not called good budgeting. It's either bad budgeting or it's poor management. Because if you're not watching what your people are doing all the time, just like a small business, you lose money at the end of the year. And when you lose money, what happens? Either the employees don't get a raise, which is not good for morale, or your taxes go up to pay for it. Budgeting is harder than people think, so please don't think it's something that you learn running a department. Now, that was my rebuttal. Do you want me to go on to the library? Yes? Okay.
Whoa. Wait a second. Are we doing?
No, wait a minute, let me just
Rebuttals are supposed
how
to be.
much time does she have?
You can have
30 seconds. You can answer the question in 30 seconds, but what I have said to them is they have 90 seconds to answer a question. If they want to speak to something, else, I can't really referee that, but I can referee the time, and I can ask that they speak to the question before they finish. So that's what she's gonna do in her 30 seconds.
Okay, regarding the library, I disagree completely on the number of people that are not interested or are interested based on what Steve Frazier just said. I think people know that if we get the donations to renovate the space, clearly the space needs to be renovated. The amount of services we can bring to our seniors and to our young children and our young family is extremely important, both for their educational development and for their way of life when it comes to the seniors. I also completed this year's budget. I've gone through it twice with the board. They're happy. And guess what? We paid for the budget, we paid for the library, and we have flat taxes next year. So it's not a question of financial.
I'd like to make a rebuttal.
Okay. And then she has another 30. We said we would do a minute and a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, she just spoke about what I do at my job. I know what I do at my job. I could put a budget proposal together, and I go over it with the town supervisor, and it gets presented to the town board, and they approve it. And then I manage it from that point forward, just like we would do here at a little bit higher level. And I've also returned that budget in the black. And as far as those budgets that are the years that the town lost money, you'll find that I voted against those budgets when I had the opportunity.
I guess voting against it doesn't fix the problem. You have to be hands-on, and you have to work together as a team to find out how to cut the red. It's not good for taxpayers ever to go that far into the hole. And to have it happen 3 times in a row, it means that somebody's not paying attention. And if a supervisor isn't paying attention, that's what happens.
Folks, I was council and supervisor during that time period.
I'm gonna just.
You're gonna be a supervisor here.
Enough.
Yeah.
Library.
Then the audience will start and then we'll all be
Speak
yelling
for
at
the
each
library.
other, so that's not. I'm just gonna switch topics. We're gonna come back to the budget, the finance issues, because there were a lot of questions related to that. There are YouTube, I'm gonna read them all, well, these 2 together, because they're related to online communications. What is the state of internet infrastructure in the town, and what role does the town play in future internet infrastructure improvements? And then they also ask, this is related to YouTube and TV channel 22. Recently, the town meetings have been on YouTube, which is difficult for some residents to watch and get on their computer. Would you be willing to have it broadcast on the TV channel 22 on my TV that used to be in addition to YouTube, so many of us can again see the meetings on the public government channel on TV? Sorry, I didn't read that very well. Do you understand?
Yes.
Steve,
I understand, I lost track of whose turn
okay, well, I believe it's Betsy's actually.
Is it my turn?
Okay, so you start. Is that, okay.
Okay, as far as internet infrastructure, we just upgraded, built that hybrid for Zoom meetings and in-person meetings in the town, and we enhanced the Optimum there, as far as I was told, and it seems to be working. So we haven't had complaints about the in-town board meeting room meetings. I did hear this week from a couple people that channel 22 wasn't playing. I don't look at that channel myself, to be honest with you. But I have discussed it with staff, and they are going to play the town board meetings again. I'm not sure what happened to it, it disconnected, but it will be taken care of if it wasn't already taken care of today. And they're going to do that on a loop. And the town board meeting does play on channel 22. It plays in a loop. If it stopped, it's supposed to, and I know it was looked at today, and I think it should be up and running again tomorrow. But yes, that can be shown there regularly. There's no reason why it shouldn't. The question.
I also learned recently that 22 wasn't playing, and we had planned to look into that as well. I do have some contacts with Cablevision through my other job. And there's always room for improvement. We are in pretty good shape as far as our internet access goes here. And I do have contacts in that area as well, but certainly would have them come in and look at it and see if there's improvements that we can make to the current system. And like I mentioned earlier, I would like to begin to broadcast the planning board and zoning board meetings, because residents do have an interest in seeing that from what I've experienced with talking with them.
I got so many questions, I'm trying to combine them, and if they don't make complete sense, combining them. I just don't want to have to leave something out if there's something people would like to say about it. This is about rural character, and I'm going to read 3 different ones. This is to both of them, but they use names. Betsy, you're running on protecting the rural character of Unionville and a strong fund balance, and Steve, you're running on bringing Unionville back to what it was. Can you explain these ideas? And what initiatives are in place or planned for maintaining the rural nature of the town? And many town residents cherish the rural character of Unionville. Is preservation and protecting the natural environment important to you? And if so, how would this be reflected in your work as town supervisor? I hope that all fits together well enough for you. And that would be Steve's first.
We have some very narrow commercial zones here in Unionville. The short strip on Route 55 and the other strip there on Route 82 in Burbank. State law prevents you from prohibiting a property owner from developing the land. But we can help work with the property owners and try to guide them to develop it with buildings that would reflect the area that we have here. Try to resemble farm buildings with, make the commercial buildings resemble farm buildings, and that sort of thing in older style homes with, that they can make to look like offices, make to look like older homes. That type of thing is something I would encourage with our property owners. My vision, I would like to restore the atmosphere that we had here, that I recall going forward, the friendly atmosphere that we've had in this building and the town altogether. We've had a good working relationship with our neighboring towns, and I was part of that from a young age, working in construction. I overlapped with the highway departments, and we all worked together to get everything done here. And that's something I would like to restore.
Okay, that's the second answer. No, you haven't answered it. Yeah.
So, I'm going to go to the first one, I believe. I'm running on the rural character and
Right, that's what you just answered.
Yeah, it really does everything to do. I think that relationship with neighbors is a separate question, so I hope you have one of those in there. But the rural character of Unionville, I addressed a little bit earlier because we have these large landowners. We would like to keep the land green. A lot of these farmers want to keep it green, and they want some help on how to do that. We're going to explore things like land trusts and other things with the DLC, things that we can bring to them to help them keep it green. That will help maintain our rural character. We just finished 10 months worth, last year we voted on it, or the beginning of this year we voted on it, 10 months worth of work rezoning our commercial district on Route 55, specifically to make it more attractive for builders to put some commercial buildings along 55. That's the rule. If you have it, if your property touches 55, you need to have commercial along 55. Most owners want to build the houses. This way we get both. We need commercial revenue as a town. And so we imposed a conservation subdivision if you're going to build houses, so 50% of the parcel will be green. We also, again, required the commercial entity to be along 55, and we, for the very first time, have created and voted on and shared with all the parcel owners design standards. The design standards are meant to keep it hamlet-like, to keep it small, to not have 20,000 square foot staples there. And it's been a big, big hit when everybody understands how it works. It keeps it rural, it keeps a little bit commercial, and that's it.
Actually, the strained relationships was another question that emerged right here. Next, there are two of them that are related. How will you attempt to resolve the strained relationships we have with our neighboring towns? And what relationship do you believe Unionville should have with neighboring towns? How would you cultivate and manage these relationships? What would be the benefit to the residents of Unionville? Do you have an example of potential benefit to the town that a neighboring relationship would provide? And I believe that last spoke, so it must be.
Yeah, okay. So the relationships with the other towns is really an important one to us. Now, I have very close relationships with Alan Bell, who is the supervisor in LaGrange. He's the president and I'm the treasurer of the Dutchess County Supervisors and Mayors Association. So we not only have dinner every month, we plan it together, and I like the bill at the end, I like to check. As far as Gary Safari, who is the town supervisor of Washington, and Tim Calaby, who used to be a resident of Unionville, who's the mayor of Millbrook, very good relationships. We do a lot of things together. We share a lot with Washington because we're about 5 people difference in populations between the two towns. So we're very good friends and we talk regularly. I spent 25 minutes on the phone with Rich Yanger today, who is the town supervisor of Dover. We share ideas a lot. So all of our immediate geographic neighbors we're really close to. Mary Carucci and I were very close before. It got a little tense when Beekman sued us over the cell tower. And then when we won that lawsuit, they appealed and sued us again. So we didn't chat as regularly as we used to. But I know at the end of the day that supervisor does what she thinks is best for her town. I do what I think, along with our board, is best for our town. And at the end of the day, I respect her. I'm sure she respects me because we still chat and talk when questions come up where we can help each other. So our relationships are strong between the town supervisors, between the highway departments, and even our recreation department shares things. So I resent the fact that people misrepresent that. It's absolutely not true. And not only that, we're all friends. Thank you.
If elected supervisor, I certainly would invite all the surrounding town supervisors to join me in a round table and discuss what we have going on in common and what we can do to help each other moving forward. I am a fairly skilled negotiator. I can speak with people and work things out without the need of going to court. That should be absolutely a last resort, and only if another option can't be reached. Like I had mentioned previously, I do recall a time when our towns were almost, we were separated by borders, but we overlapped with services, helping each other out, with the highway department being the most common time that, they would go back and forth because, we all had small highway departments, and putting everyone together was able to get the job done quicker, and then we moved to their town and help them out as well. And that's something I would like to, restore and again, look at what we can do, shared services, see what we can do to use like resources among each other and, keep our expenses down for that reason.
All right, moving on a little further from Unionville to officials beyond here. How would you stay informed about, well, maybe I'll start with, there are 2 of them related to these other officials. What experience do you have working with our current elected officials, such as county or state members of the legislature or executive? How has or will your relationship with these elected officials be beneficial to your position as town supervisor and ultimately to the town residents? And then this is related as closely as I can find one. How would you stay informed about changes in local, state, and federal laws that may impact the town? Can you provide an example of any potential county, state, or federal laws that you are concerned about for the town of Unionville? And Steve.
I have a good relationship with a good number of the county legislators. The county executive candidate currently, and the town clerk, or county clerk rather, and I've been in the loop here for quite some time now. The second part of that question then, please.
Can you provide an example of any potential county, state,
Yes.
or federal law?
One of the major things that concerns me is the state's insistence on what they're calling affordable housing. They want to force us to build low-rent apartment buildings here. And with the rural character that we don't have the services here in this area that would support that type of living in here. You know, generally, those type of housing developments require stores and such that they can walk to. And we just don't have that here. It may be, you know, someday in the future, but it certainly doesn't seem to be now.
Do I answer that?
Yeah, did you answer that question? No, yes, you want me to, yeah, sure.
Okay, I think that, you know, it's one of those things, if you read a lot and you're staying informed and you talk to our elected officials going up, you feel like you pretty much know what's going on. And I think that AJ Beekins, our Assemblyman, and Rob Lawson is our Senator, and then a lot of the things also that Steve just alluded to, a lot of the things that are coming down and affecting Unionville are from the state. And, you know, one of the reasons the supervisor's job is so complicated and so laborious now is that so many state mandates are being pushed down in our direction. We get great insight. I also get a great deal of information from our supervisors and mayors' monthly meetings. I talk to people in the county executive's office pretty regularly, Ron Hicks and the people that run emergency management, all of that crew. So I feel like I'm well informed, and they come to us with a lot of things, and our assemblyman's been great, and our senator's been great. So I feel I'm frustrated about a few things. I won't take up the time now, but they are trying to push at us. I think they warrant some explanation. They warrant some diving in on both of our parts. But I feel well informed, and I feel like they let us know what's going on a regular basis. I think they're doing a good job in that department, frankly.
All right, we get the next one too. What role do you believe a town supervisor should play in promoting environmental sustainability? We talked about the rural character, but sustainability is, I think, a different issue.
Well, I think a town supervisor really wants to do what the residents want. And I know, and my personal belief is that we have a beautiful town, we want to keep the rural nature, and that side by side with that has to be conservation ideas and things. We have to take care of our water, we have to take care of our land, because they go hand in hand. And as far as sustainability, one of the first things we did was took 2 years, but set up that solar development. It's interesting to talk to the people that put in that solar development. We get $40,000 a year from those people just for renting our land. We didn't give up our land, we just rent it to them. We get $40,000 a year, which is very helpful for us. And those people are wonderful to talk to because they say, we're the pioneers. You know, that's the way they look at their business. You know, they believe one day the petroleum, it's all gonna go away, it's gonna dry up and be gone. And we have to be thinking far out in the future. That's what they're doing. We're benefiting from that because we're getting revenue. So to me, that's sustainability, and all the things we look at that will help the environment, will help our residents, and also take care of the water and the land that we have here and that we want to protect. I'm pretty much for all of that, and I love getting the information and the ideas from the residents because most of them have come from the residents.
I sat on the planning board here for 7 years prior to joining the town board, and every single developer housing proposal that comes forward has to go to the planning board and goes through what they call a secret process. And that is an environmental survey of the proposal of construction and how it will impact the environment. There are strict regulations in that respect. They also have all kinds of requirements for the sewer disposal, and now the storm runoff has to be managed as well. The state pretty much mandates all these things, and our code enforcement officer then runs off of those state laws and makes sure that everything is done in the manner that's supposed to be done.
I had a number of questions. I'm going to combine things I'm seeing people come up with and just ask you about running a town board meeting and people asking questions and your style about writing with people at board meetings is, you know, I'm guessing they would want to know what the same different whatever. That kind of question came up about your style, and also about the questions and people being cut off or not, and so on. And that's Steve.
The purpose of not the sole purpose, but the main purpose of the town board meeting is to conduct the town's business, to take care of the issues that are in front of us, and allot the monies that need to be assigned to different projects, if they're budgeted properly, or the town board decides that that's the direction they want to take. There are 2 points within the town board meeting where the residents can speak. That's prior to the main meeting starting, and they can speak about agenda items. And then towards the end of the meeting, there's a section where they can speak about pretty much generally any general town topic that they wish. Depending on how long the meeting has run, I think it would be okay to adjust the length of time that people have to speak, and number of speakers as well. We certainly can't have the town board meetings running past midnight, because, everybody's getting tired at that point. And, so I think that the amount of time that folks can speak can be flexible based on the number of speakers and the hour of the evening.
Well, I think the rules of a town board meeting can change with different town boards. I mean, there's some flexibility in how they can be set up. What Steve just described is how they're currently set up. I know one of the reasons I was approached initially to run years ago, I've never been in elected office before. I've done a lot of business things, but I was approached because actually our highway superintendent at the time felt like he was yelled at and screamed at in public on a regular basis, and other people felt like the decorum was missing. And I felt like that would be the easy part. I had to read all the rest of the job description. I think that town board meetings, there has to be a level of decorum and let people, there are 2 chances for residents to speak, but we're not supposed to get into a give and take. Every now and then the lawyer calls me the next day and says, oh, the meeting was great, except you allowed so-and-so to happen or this to happen or whatever, and you should refrain from doing that. They're supposed to make comments. And I say, okay. So it is supposed to work in an orderly fashion, but in a fashion where the town board gets information from people. And we have work sessions 1 meeting a month so that the town board doesn't have an agenda and we can just talk freely with each other. And then we have an agenda meeting that we vote, and it's the real legislative session, and we allow people to come in, for those 30-second and those 3-minute timeframes that Steve was just alluding to. I don't know what else to say, but I think it should be run professionally. There shouldn't be yelling and screaming, and I think we should pass the business and get it done that way. That's my view.
And this is very closely related, but different. What strategies would you use to engage with the town community and ensure their voices are heard? For what activities do you believe are the most important to engage with the town community? How often would you seek to engage with the community? And I'm thinking that they're considering, this is why I picked up the question, it might be different from a board meeting, it might be other, more public opportunities.
Okay, this is my turn. Well, there's multiple ways to take it to. I find that communication is really the hardest part, because we have these board meetings, and even if they're smooth and efficient and professional, and we check all the boxes and we get everything voted on, most of the people haven't heard it. It's not that exciting. I realize it's not made for TV stuff, but it is business and it is important. But if we pass things that we think are important, then most of the town doesn't know about them. It's kind of frustrating. We like to get the word out. A couple of years ago, I started Unionville Mail, which is an email service where I actually make email out to communicate with people to let them know what's going on. We post on the website regularly. We do everything we can, but I don't think we've nailed it yet. And I think it's a common problem amongst towns. People want, they want more, and we'd like to give them more, but you kind of have to go there and turn on the button or open up the email or place the phone call. So we like to have that give and take, because we really do. We like to have everybody on the same page, and we'd love to hear more from you. I get the best ideas that we run with at our town board meetings are from the residents. So when they call or we go and see them and they have ideas, we grab them regularly and take them. So we want more communication. We've all benefited from communicating with you, and we'd like to continue that. But between email and the website, the Facebook, I don't know what else we can do. But we'd love to hear it if you have a good idea about that as well.
Yeah, I would certainly welcome any kind of feedback or conversation with the residents, and put as many opportunities in place as we can, and I think most of those are in place at this point. We do have an email address. We have town board meetings televised, and one thing that I would do is return to 2 business meetings so that they're all televised, and that people will be welcome to speak at any of the meetings. Again, I would be providing as much information to the residents as I can about what town business is happening, but it would be the obligation of the resident and to reach out to me or the rest of the town board if they have some concerns. I don't feel that it's the town's position to seek out the residents. If you have any concerns at all, by any means, by all means, go ahead and contact us, and we certainly would be willing to have a discussion.
By the way, I'm looking down partly just to keep the candidates from talking to me, because you're the voters and you're going to vote on. I'm really interested in what they have to say, but I try not to show too much interest so you don't, because I ask the question and you think that I'm, we think you're interested. You're being polite to answer. It happens all the time at candidate meetings. Okay, I love this question because we came in by 55 and we have it too. Everyone knows the intersection of Knox and 55, Bruxell, and I can't even say that second one that begins with P-A-R-T. But it's weird. It's a very interesting little place there. It's extremely dangerous, which we can understand. What would be your plans to make this safer for the town? I will leave it to you.
So that's a great question.
Who's on first? Steve's on first, yeah. Thank you all.
I'm very familiar with that intersection. I travel across it several times a day. It is not nearly as dangerous as it has been in the past since the state installed the traffic light there. We do, on occasion, still have people that run the traffic light crossing 55 without stopping. I'm not sure why that is. That traffic light is visible from at least half a mile away. As far as making improvements there, I've heard traffic circles discussed. That's something that the state would have to undertake. We certainly could have those discussions. I do know something about highway construction, but I am not an engineer by any means. Yeah, like I said, that in being involved with the fire service, I've been on a number of serious accidents there, and I do know that number is well below what it used to be.
So last year when we were conducting the public hearings for the rezoning of Route 55, we had some excellent comments from residents who were upset about that and worried about additional traffic and the impact it would have. Dana Kilcrease has been kind enough to send me pictures. He's had a couple of very, close to accidents. And he sent me some pictures. And but that was very helpful. So, and not that I expect you to stop and take pictures if you're going around the corner, but during those public hearings, and this is what prompted Dana Kilcrease and others to send me photos, during those public hearings, we promised that we would talk to the New York State DOT. We did, after the public hearings, discuss, and this came up at a town board meeting. It's one of those things that I don't think everybody heard because not everybody listens. But we did have a wonderful meeting with the DOT. There were 6 people there, including Commissioner Valkine from Dutchess County. Ed Katie was there, and I was there, and they were all there, and we shared all of your concerns, and some of you were the ones speaking up about that. The DOT said that they were happy to hear that the residents of Unionville, at least in our public hearing, said that they would love to have a circle there. And they said they're usually trying to sell a circle. They're so glad that we would welcome one, but they want us to know that we are 124th on the list. That corner is not nearly as bad as some of the others, but the good news is we are now on their list. And anybody like Dana Kilcrease who has to have pictures and sends them, I told the manager I was going to just continually send them to him, and then maybe that would move us up on the list. He will take those pictures and they will keep us informed, but they are working on
Changing gears completely, can you provide an example of a time when you successfully managed a large-scale project or initiative? What was the outcome? What obstacles did you have to overcome to complete the project? And that's you, guys.
That's me. Two things I can tell you. Real short one is that salt grant. We were trying to get a salt shed grant, and it was hours and hours and hours of inputting information. And I'm sorry, Tim, you're not interested. The salt shed grant application was an absolute bear. I don't have a conclusion on that yet, but we had gone to some land use programs and some classes, and it helped a lot because our salt shed is built on an aquifer, and we're hoping that we get that grant in order to fix that whole thing. So that I'll keep you posted on that one. The other one is that solar development. David Morris was the town board member that was the cheerleader for that. I agreed to work with him on it, and we worked on that. And we picked, he had a lot of projects he was interested in, but that was the one I made him settle on that because we knew we could get revenue for the town with that one. That was a 2-year-long project. There were a lot of board meetings, there were a lot of meetings with the developers, there were a lot of meetings with everybody that would be involved, talk about seeker and all the normal things that go through planning. But it was a good success because while we're working on getting all the viburnums planted next spring that we wanted this fall that we didn't make it, to make it look more attractive, we've done a good thing for the community and the discounts. We've done a good thing for the environment. It took 2 years to do it, but that was a very important project that started and ended right here in Unionville. So we completed that one.
One project here in Unionville that I had a lot of input with was the parking here down across the street and in front of the building. I worked closely with the engineer on that project, offering some ideas of what we could do, and part of the work was done with our highway superintendent, and I monitored that process as well, and worked with him, coming up with ideas on how to do some of the things that were being requested. I had worked on some other projects here. The bridge that I mentioned earlier that goes to the rear of the property, I've worked with the engineer on that with several ideas, but the town board did not take action on that. And then the dam as well, I've been involved with that. But again, it takes the whole town board to, or at least the majority of the town board to go forward with these projects. I had recommended as well that the HVAC at Town Hall, which was original to the building, be upgraded as that equipment is obsolete. Parts are no longer available, and the gas is very expensive and no longer permitted to be used other than as a replacement gas. And again, it was, it's only partially addressed at this point.
I'm looking at it's 8:05, and we want to end by 8:30, please. And we need to talk about the budget. I know we need to go back to the library, but that's a budget issue. I don't think there are a lot. I apologize for those of you that aren't going to get your questions answered. Some of them are more specific. Maybe I'll put in a little pile, and then toward the end I'll let you all know things that have come up. But let's go to the budget. And if you want to include the library in that, we ought to do this back and forth at least twice. And Steve really was looking at the questions carefully then. So he's going to start. And let me just read it. And there's so many. I just kept putting well, here's a nice general one. What managerial and financial experience do you have, and what will you do to improve the financial condition of Unionville? So that gives you an overall. Yeah.
Well, I mentioned earlier my experience with budgets, it is, again, it's not as complicated as it might sound. You look at the what you have, the spending trend in certain areas, see if you need to make any changes there. You check with your vendors on services and see if they project any increases for the upcoming year. Calculate out what you're going to need to cover that, and you come up with a budget proposal. I have been doing that, again, like I said, for 15 years in my department. The budget process here at the town level is, expanded beyond that. But I have 7 employees. I handle payroll, I handle parks and their needs, and there's 14 properties that I have to calculate expenses for in Wappinger. It takes me several days to put that together and then to present it to the town board. And, Unionville has typically been a very conservative town. Our budgets have really not been fat. When the state put that tax cap on us, it did have an impact on us because we had such a lean budget to start with. But certainly would make sure that we get $1 back on every dollar that is collected and be exchanged for dollar service.
Yeah. So I have an extensive background in the financial world, as you all know, because I worked at Citigroup and I was in asset management since I got out of college. So it's not a question of the financial background that I have. I think it's a matter of paying attention to details. Now, the reason that we have been so successful at saving money is that we watch what happens every day. And if the supervisor isn't here every day until 3:30 in the afternoon, then what will happen is that a lot of things slip through the cracks. And like running any small business, small town, small businesses are very similar with the different departments. Employees need constant reassurance. They need to be trained. We had a wonderful park manager that recently got a fabulous job offer, so we moved a couple people up. And we hired at the bottom. The people that moved up need to be trained all over again. That takes hours every single day. We talk regularly. And that impacts the budget because they have to learn how to do it themselves. So it's a constant training and it's a constant management thing. You can't meet with the federal government, the state government, FEMA, anybody else if you're trying to get money back after 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because you all know government hours are early every day and they don't work well. So with the 10 seconds left, I can say to you that the only way that you can build and manage financially is to be present, to be on site, to watch the expenses, to check on the bills, and only that way will you be successful. And that's what I'm doing.
I'm going to go back to the library now and just read some of the thoughts out there in the audience about this, and you'll see that it kind of comes back to monthly budget. So they're just in random order. Since building hasn't started on the library, if you were elected, would you be willing to share the capital and operating costs of the library and then put it on that is share, which depends on would you be willing to share the capital and operating costs of the library and then put it on a ballot for the town to vote on it? Where do you both stand on building a new library or reinstating the contribution to the current library system? And a second part to that same topic, why can't some of the millions of dollars in savings be used to reduce town taxes? A common mantra being repeated at town meetings, we're talking about paying $80,000 a year for library usage, is we want to keep our tax money in Unionville. How will it keep our tax money in Unionville to spend $1.5 to $2 million to out-of-town contractors, vendors, and suppliers to build a library, and then $250,000 to keep it going year after year? What is your position on the Unionville Library at Tenor Park? How to fund it, how to stop it? There you go. And it's yours.
Okay, I think this one's going to require a little more time than 90 seconds because it's complicated. First of all, we've been around and around, and some of you have heard me say this. The library fight with the other communities, if you want to call it a fight, started with Lizette, poor Lizette, in 2010. And by the time I learned of the problem, it was because people were in the town board meetings yelling and screaming about Unionville should pay its fair share. Now, we gotta fast forward because we went through all of those years. We figured out that Unionville was paying its fair share. As a matter of fact, Unionville was paying more, I'm gonna take a little more time. Unionville was paying more than any other town in the state of New York as an unserved town. We were paying $16.65 per capita. The next closest town to us was $11, and that was Ankrum, and they had just moved up from $7 to $11. All the other unserved towns in the state of New York were paying about $7 a person. And we were undergoing and enduring a lot of library sharing. And this gentleman to my left often said that the Mid-Hudson library system was just an extortion machine. They were trying to extort money from us. I didn't disagree with him at the time. So my point is that we were enduring this library shaming for a long time. But the fact of the matter is about a third of our people have library cards. And when the referendum was finally put on the ballot in 2021, that do you want to send 79 or 80 grand out of the town every year with no end date in sight, it was voted down. All right, it wasn't even close. It was only around 60-40. All right, so when that was voted down, our town board then said, okay, we have a dilemma. What should we do? The people in Albany said, okay, the referendum was voted down. The money's not going out of town. Hire a library consultant and they will help you. So we hired a professional consultant. He came in after small meetings and large meetings and meeting with Mid-Hudson Library System and all the other libraries. He came in and met with the town board and said, guess what? I'm not stopping. It's not going to get any better. You need to take this matter into your own hands and you're going to have to fund your own library. And when we finally did that program, we decided and we realized that Unionville was the last town in Dutchess County without their own library. And that it would benefit all of our residents greatly to actually have one. And since we know we can afford it, because we're getting contributions to do the renovation, we're thrilled about it. And I would say most of the people are now thrilled about it. You can have equal time.
That's what I was saying. But I still don't advise it because it's you know.
Well, I did say at the beginning it was going to be a little more.
I'm not gonna read that much.
Yes, it's not in 90 seconds.
Yeah.
So I brought you up to date.
When this controversy originally started, I was opposed to sending money out to the Mid-Hudson Library System. As a board member, I'm accountable for your tax dollars. I asked the Mid-Hudson Library System to show me how many of our residents were actively using the library on a regular basis. They couldn't provide that information. I did not feel comfortable sending money out to something that I had no idea was, how much was being utilized. So initially, I was opposed to that. As I mentioned earlier, in the last campaign cycle 2 years ago, and this one as well, I've had, the people I've spoken to, they thought the topic of this is the most important topic to the majority of the residents that I've spoken with. And from doing that, then I learned that, yeah, we've got somewhere between a third and a half of our residents are using the library on a regular basis. Now, I can justify that payment to the Mid-Hudson Library System. And I certainly would support that. In fact, on my, one of my final proposals going before I was removed from office was to go ahead and make a one-time annual payment to the library system to get our residents back in there with full services. They've yet to have full services since that time. Going forward, again, I don't feel that building a library here in Unionville is financially sound. There isn't a business plan on earth that would make that work. In addition to the $1.5 million proposal was pre-COVID numbers. Since then, construction material costs have skyrocketed. I would say that number is probably $2 million more now just for construction costs. And I believe that it would cost between $300,000 and $500,000 annually to operate. I've done my numbers crunching, and that's what I've come up with. You would have to have, you're going to need to create a library that's more attractive than the ones that our residents are currently going to. And to do that, you're going to have to spend the funds to operate it. I do feel that restoring library services with the surrounding libraries is the more economically way to do it.
Let me ask some other, get away from the library specifically and ask about some other budget questions. I think this is a general one. What unforeseen expenses must be budgeted for? Recent examples, the town now have a paid ambulance driver and medic on duty 24/7. How will you budget for those items? By raising taxes or eliminating projects or what? And that's Steve.
Can you repeat that, the chair, Russell, I didn't.
Planning for unforeseen expenses. How will they be budgeted for? Recent examples are the town will now have a paid ambulance driver and medic on duty 24/7. So the question is, how will you budget for those items? By raising taxes or eliminating projects or what?
I've been away from the budget process here in Unionville for a couple of years now. I have been trying to follow as closely as possible. I do know that there is a projected increase in emergency services here for 24/7 ambulance service. They did make an improvement of the original estimate and reduced it by a little bit over $100,000. Those taxes are levied by the fire district themselves and not the town board. It is included in the town budget, but the fire commissioners, the board of fire commissioners make the decisions on how the emergency services here in town will be handled.
Okay, the fire district did, they told us about it in advance, and we had good discussions about it, and we did a little bit of research, and we shared some ideas with them, which was, but they were working really hard, and I want to say, in defense of the fire district, those taxes that we will all be seeing on our tax bill in the future are for 24/7 ambulance service. They did get a reduction in the one RFP request, and the one response that they got was $924,000. They got that down to $800,000, which means their budget is going up $600,000, and it is expensive. Budget. It is on the tax bill that you will receive, but it is a separate budget from the town. As far as how we take care of emergencies in Unionville, we build up our fund balance so that we can live for an entire year, maybe a year and a half, on our fund balance, should there be another COVID-like emergency when we have no revenue coming in. That's the purpose of a fund balance. I truly believe that that's an important thing that the town needs. You won't have to lay people off. You can keep taking care of your folks. You can take care of your bills. You can keep the lights on. You can do the things you got to do if you have a very healthy fund balance, which we have now. The fund balance was put in place for that and for the dam project that is going to cost us about $1 million, is what we've been told. So we got a good fund balance to take care of these things. The fire district is doing a good job and they're working hard, but you want ambulance service 24/7, and they're now going to bring that to you. Okay? Done.
Oh, I know everybody wants to talk about full-time versus part-time, so let's do that. There are 3 questions that are very specific to that, and it comes up in little ways at other times. This will cover it, I think. Running a town and managing an office of people requires a lot of time and attention to keep morale up and communication open. Can you please share about your expertise with regard to managing a town and your availability? Is your time available? Is there a way, another question, is there a way to avoid turning the supervisor position into a full-time paid position? And another one, I understand the town board voted to make the supervisor a full-time position. Since the town of Dover has, with over 8,000 residents and other towns, it's part-time. Do you think Unionville needs a full-time supervisor? And that's very simple.
I think Unionville needs a full-time supervisor, and the $23,000 a year salary that comes with that, $3,000 is for being the budget officer, is really not intended to be a measure of whether it's full-time or part-time. These jobs were more or less created not as a career path for anybody. The jobs were really created. It's a joy to have this job. It's a joy to work with the residents. It's a joy to try to find solutions to problems. But the job is it's a public service. It's really not something that somebody embarks on and just to get paid. And it's not something you normally would embark on if you couldn't get there till 3:30 in the afternoon. It does require constant working with all the department heads and meetings, all the business meetings with our insurance companies and everybody else during the day. So that part is full time. And I don't know, and I think because of all the state mandates and all the things that come down and the hundreds of emails that we get, I just don't see how the job is less than part-time if you want to reserve that time at the end of the day or on the weekends or at night to talk to residents on the phone who do call. And I've become very good friends with a lot of residents because they call regularly, and it's fun to work with them. But you can't manage all these departments like recycling center, Parks and Rec, and all these various departments without having lots of hours to help train and to track all the money. I mean, that's really the highest priority.
Supervisor's job here at Unionville has never been part-time, or full-time rather. It's always been a part-time gig. The state sets all the regulations on elected officials' duties, and it's listed there. The town board does not have the authority to appoint work hours to the elected officials. If an elected official underperforms, then you, the residents, will decide whether or not to retain him the next time around. I will make myself available as necessary here to take care of business. We have the amount of business that's done here in Unionville is done on a 4-day work week to start with. And I can make myself available to be here in the event of they need some guidance. We have a very proficient full-time staff in place to handle the details that need to be taken care of. I'd be available to answer any questions and can be here within 15 minutes of a phone call. The majority of the towns in Dutchess County, even those larger than ours, have part-time supervisors. In fact, where I work in a town of 30,000, the town of Wappinger, the supervisors there perhaps on average 4 hours a day. It just is not, there's no need for a full-time supervisor to stand over the employees and watch them all day long.
Right, I think we can give this 1 minute, because we're gonna have to go to closing statements, and I want to bring this in on time. Yeah, we're getting close. All right, so 1 minute, and Steve, you would start this. What do you think you can do to reduce turnover among town employees and volunteers?
I have a very good reputation as a personnel manager. I treat the employees fairly. If they have problems, I try to work them out. Where I work now, I have a couple employees that have some family issues that we work around. And, as long as they're getting their work done here at Unionville, then, we do what we can to help them reach that goal. I've been in personnel management 25, 30 years now, and always have had my employees tell me I'm the best boss that they've had. I treat people fairly, and that's the bottom line. Treat people with the respect that you would expect to get back from them.
Was that about personnel management?
Oh geez, it's very deep now. It was about turnover. What would you do to reduce turnover in the staff and volunteers?
Well, we really don't have a lot of turnover. I mean, Jake was our Jake. We don't really have turnover. Maybe Jake is our manager for the parks. He's been here. He's here about 8 years, 7.5 years. And he just got better and better and better every single year. And he got this, and we were so proud of him. He got a phenomenal message from a nearby business that we couldn't compete with because the salary was so high and the profit sharing was so good, and the 6 weeks off is so terrific. And that really, we've got women that are having babies and coming back full time. So I can't think of anybody else that has left. I don't think we have an issue with turnover. I think we treat the people really well here. We get along well. We have a great group in town hall. We have a great group of Parks and Rec, which is why we promoted up instead and brought somebody in at the bottom instead of bringing somebody in to oversee them. So anyway, I think that if you treat people well, they enjoy the job, and I think you have to treat people really well in a municipality.
Okay, and I'm gonna just list some things that people raised, and just so you know, one person wanted to know that there's now only one polling place and wonder about getting another one. I'm not reading the whole question, but I'm sure that's come up. That was about polling places and getting a second polling place, and I believe when I read it before, you lost one and now you want it back, or whatever, anyway, more polling places. And campaign signs where they put up too early, and, what about that? And I hear that issue in other towns too. Campaign signs, some people really want to come as late as possible and go away as quickly as possible. And emergency preparedness plan came up, the equestrian center came up, and then using the park for other activities that were, the balloon festival, the Oktoberfest, Irish games, asking to speak on that, and we don't have time, but also a swim program, coaching on swimming. So people have lots of different things on their mind. I hope they speak to the candidates about these things at their leisure. And we are now going to go to the closing statements, and Steve will start because he was second at the opening.
As I mentioned earlier, I grew up here. It's all I know from a young age. Some of the folks here have known me since I've been a little kid. I've seen a lot of changes in that time, and I've had working relationships with the families that built Unionville into what it is today. My family was very friendly with the Vales, the Wismans, and the Ryans, and also the Andrews, and they are the core families in this town that have made this town what it is. They've all been involved in government at one point, and I want to continue their vision. My daughter has grown, and I just had a new granddaughter recently. It's a whole different world for me, and she had moved to Pleasant Valley. She wants to come back to this area to raise her family, and I'm going to work with her on that. But I want to make sure that she has the same opportunities that I've had here, and the same experiences that I've had. And that's my motivation for doing what we're doing. I think I have the character, and I do have the skills. I'm very confident in that I have the skills to do this job. I will make every effort and pledge to full transparency on what goes on here in your town government, and will put pledge to put whatever time is necessary to do the job appropriately. I have a long history of doing my job and providing what I promised to do. I fulfill my promises. So I have a very long history, and I know some of you can back that up of doing that. Thank you.
Well, I feel, and I've known Steve Fraser for a long time as well, because we were on the town board together. And, I hear him talk about these projects, and he spoke to an engineer, and he did this, and he spoke to an engineer. And I'm not trying to pick on him. I think when I hear him talk, he would make a great DPW guy. I think he's got talents for certain places. I don't think it's taking care of the finances, and I don't think it's going to be somebody who's really into tedious and fine detail when it comes to tracking dollars, chasing monies down to protect the taxpayers. I don't know why I like to do it, but myself and my bookkeeper, we enjoy it. And when we get a little bit of money back, it's a big success in our office. That's our mindset. He will not have the time to do that. If I talk to those other supervisors that he discusses, they tell me they work full time. They may be in the office full time. I'm sometimes home 2 hours in the morning on the phone. So, what they tell you and what is actually happening, it may be different. But most town supervisors feel like and say that they work full-time. There's just too much state mandated stuff to get out from under. So we need, I think, somebody who will pay attention to the things that you benefit from, because that's the job. I'm perfectly willing to do that, and I have a track record for doing that, and I would think everybody would like that. I think Steve wants to have a track record, but there isn't one that he's ever demonstrated. Here, as a town board member, there's no track record for completion of projects. And I'm not picking on him, I just think that that is what the job is. And that's what I can bring to the table. I also want you to know the state does not mandate hours for any town and their elected officials. That's done locally, and they are silent on it, and they want the towns to decide amongst themselves. And our town did, and it started with the previous administration and health insurance. So the highway, town clerk, and town supervisor are all full-time jobs in Unionville.
And thank you to all of you for your questions, and I'm sorry I didn't get to answer all of them. And for the candidates, I'm sure you're so welcome.